Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum Channel Evening Edition here on Wednesday, October 16th, 2019. Let's take a look at our solar conditions right now. We're looking at solar winds at 410.6 kilometers per second with a density of 1.4. That's changed a little bit from this morning, not much though. We are still blank without sunspots. That's now 13 days in a row and 212 days in 2019 without sunspots. TCI has dropped just a little bit from this morning to 4.33. Our KP indices are sitting at a 2 with a 24-hour max of a 3. And let's go ahead and take a look at our SDO in motion, and we see the coronal hole that is now turning towards Earth. We should see solar wind speeds increase on that somewhere around the 20th through the 21st. Now, on the far eastern limb here, we do have another coronal hole forming. And let's take a look here at grandsolarminimum.com, and you will see that there's our Earth-facing coronal hole, which is going to be very minor. And that effect will be around here on the 20th and the 21st. But this one right here, towards the negative 90 on the eastern limb, that one could be a little bit more potent, and we could see a geomagnetic storm from that particular size of a coronal hole. Usually the ones that get that kind of big here, that's a large region of a coronal hole. So we will keep our eyes on that, and we do expect some space weather from that particular coronal hole, if not from the one that we're receiving now. Let's take a look at our TSI, our total solar radiance, as of October 8th, 2019. Total solar radiance came in at 1360.675 watts per square meter. And again, this TSI has basically just been hanging around in the same values for a long time. We have seen TSI values decline over the past couple of years. Guys, take a look at the bottom of this screen. I point this out every time, or once in a while, I should say. And this line up here that we're looking at the top, this straight line, that's just a baseline of where you can see how TSI goes up and down. But look at this. We've definitely seen a decline in TSI since 2014. And it continues to drop. And it does not appear that it's going to be rising up anytime soon. So from 2004 all the way to 2012, where we saw it go up and down. Right now, if we go in that same 8-year period, TSI is showing us that it should start to be back on the increase according to the last minimum cycle. So we still have a couple more years of low TSI. It may drive up just a little bit, slightly. Again, solar cycle 25 is expected to be weak. So lots to be watching as we continue through the beginning of this grand solar minimum. Let's go ahead and check out everything here at the grandsolarminimum.com. Once again, thank you, Mari, for setting this up for us here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Tonight's title is Historic Midwest Blizzard Has Farmers Expecting Massive Crop Losses as Devastating as We've Ever Seen. And there's a quick little picture of our nor'easter / bomb genesis, possibly. Take a look. First of all, let's recap the earthquake on watchers.news. We had a 6.3. First, it was a 6.7. Then the USGS backed it down to a 6.4. And then the EMSC is reporting it at a 6.3. So we've had 3 different readings from this. But all in all, so far, no major structure damage has been reported. No injuries or deaths have been reported as well. And this happened today about 11:37 UTC time. That was right before we went on live this morning here around 8 a.m. Eastern time in New York. And I do have a little bit of footage I can show you from this particular earthquake. Again, there was no tsunami warnings or anything like that. Just a little bit of shaking going on. Still pretty some folks not so thrilled about the idea of an earthquake that actually that late, I should say. see some ceiling tiles were knocked out, some shaking going on. Obviously, people were kind of scared, but right now there has not been any kind of major damage or loss of life or injury right now. The region should be on watch for landslides and things of that nature. But again, a pretty powerful earthquake. We haven't seen a strong one in a few weeks. So 6.7 originally has now been officially labeled as a 6.4. Moving along here, severe storm hits the Zaka district in Zimbabwe. At least 10 schools were extremely damaged after a hailstorm pummeled parts of Zaka district in the province of Zimbabwe. Now, the hailstorm took place last week. An interview last Friday, October 11th, said the affected schools have since gathered detailed reports about the damages and certain needs. They urgently need to facilitate the reconstruction of some schools that were destroyed by the hailstorm last week. It says here, we are appealing to the government and other development partners to intervene to avert this serious crisis faced by both communities and pupils. Bakita's district development coordinator, who is also chairperson of the Civil Protection Unit Committee, said the hailstorm destroyed residential properties, leaving more than 100 families homeless. He added that some of the victims were left with literally nothing and are in dire situation. Furthermore, he said that in wards 4 and 6, the magnitude of destruction from the storm is too massive. Most of the homes on the roofs have blown off, while even schools also emerged worse off during the disaster. We are yet to quantify the total damage caused by the storm. Aside from damaged schools and homes, powers and telephone lines were also destroyed. Meteorological Services Department has been alerting villagers in the Manic Land and Mableland South, Masavingo Midlands, and some parts of the Masholand east of potential disaster. So thank you to Watchers.news. I wish we would have had a little more footage here with all the destruction that we're talking about, but the information from these parts of the world sometimes comes in pretty limited. And why is this relevant on the Grand Solar Minimum channel? If you're new and asking yourself, watching this storm, in the education of the Grand Solar Minimum, I was taught a long time ago that we would see cosmic rays go up. We would also see massive temperature swings, just like the one we saw in Denver. And actually, that's something that Lee and I talked about a long time ago. But also, Lee taught me that we would see a lot more hail events. And this was back in 2016 when he said this. And sure enough, each year we do these news articles, we continue to find more and more stories each year that shows us increased cosmic rays, heavy flooding, more hailstorms in areas that don't get hailstorms usually either. So this is very relevant. When you see us talking about massive hail damage in just one little area, folks, it's going to get a lot worse than this. And after solar cycle 25, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to see in future solar cycles, as they're predicted to be even lower activity than what we've seen in 24, and coming up in 25 is yet to be seen. But so far, a lot of the early predictions of 25 are being met at this rate. And here is another unfortunate story I found tonight. And this is a professor, a well-renowned expert in animal bone identification, has lost her position at the University of Victoria. She believes for telling kids politically incorrect facts about polar bears. Now, this person, this zoologist, Dr. Susan Crockford, is routinely hired by biologists and archaeologists in Canada and abroad to identify the remains of mammals, birds, and fish. She has helped catalog museum collections and assisted police with forensic analysis. But UVic students will no longer benefit from her expertise, and her ability to apply research grants has come to a screeching halt. As of May, the anthropology department withdrew her adjunct professor status, depriving her of a university affiliation. Crockford describes her expulsion as an academic hanging without a trial conducted behind closed doors. After being renewed unanimously in 2016 for a 3-year term, her adjunct status was not renewed the next time around. Now, Crockford is the author of the popular blog polarbearscience.com, as well as 5 books about these animals. Polar bear facts and myths have been translated into 4 languages. She says that contrary to the claims of environmental activists, polar bears are currently thriving and are at no risk of extinction from climate change. So she taught Victoria U. Also, looks like here in 2012, University of Toronto. She's very highly respected, and she gets canned because she is affecting the credibility of the Paris Treaty climate and the IPCC when she mentions things that goes against the grain. Such as we've all heard the poor polar bears are starving to death. You know, they find one picture of a skinny polar bear and that's it. The world loses its mind. This is a look at her polar bear blog, guys. I'd say she is definitely the authority when it comes to this kind of topic. You guys get some time, take a look at the information, and you'll probably be a little raged when you get done finishing this, because all she did was tell her students the truth, and the Trudeau regime there in Canada, well, that goes against the Paris Treaty climate, which will go against their future investments on this Green New Deal planet-wide type thing here. So if a highly respected, renowned scientist, university professor is telling the truth and it starts to gain traction, well, what's going to happen to things like the Paris Climate Treaty and the IPCC? It goes away. Its credibility goes away. And I think this gives the education system a black eye when you take away someone with so much credibility and who knows what they're talking about and is telling the truth. It's not just her. There's other scientists around the world. Her guest, and now listen, I heard somewhere around hundreds of thousands. She's being modest here with her guesses. But still, the polar bear catastrophe that never happened. That's one of her books. Polar Bear in Fact and Myths. Polar Bears, Outstanding Survivors of Climate Change. Susan Eaton, a novel with a polar bear on the cover. So I like this one already. And, you know, this just goes back to what's happening to Valentina Zarkova right now as well. She's being bullied by people who are elite, who have the control of the grant money, and who are freaking out and panicking right now about the correct information that's being provided by Zarkova. So she has been fighting a battle at nature.com where people are trying to have her paper removed from that publication. Now, nature.com is reviewing it. However, it's not saying that, yes, we're looking at it to take it down. It's just reviewing the accusations that are being launched at Valentina Zarkova. But I can tell you this, Mari works very closely with Valentina. They talk on a weekly basis, sometimes daily. And the response that Zarkova has for this, I don't know, I guess we could call it a climate witch hunt here, is 6 pages long, first and foremost. Full of answers to the false accusations and questions that people have about her paper, trying to get it the credibility pulled away. Again, guys, this is because the IPCC is going to make trillions of dollars off of carbon credits. And let me ask you this. If CO2 was causing climate change, wouldn't you think that this treaty would stand for reducing emissions no matter how much money you have? Not according to the IPCC. If you want to burn carbon emissions and not reduce them, you can do that as long as you pay their carbon credit fine. So that right there, that should be the first indication to any of you out there who are studying this topic. That should be the first indication right there. This is not about the planet and the climate. If it was, it would ban all CO2 emissions, or it would drastically cut emissions in China and India. But no, they're allowed to buy credits, carbon credits. If you're going to burn emissions, you're going to pay for it. And what's going to happen to China and India? Nothing. They're going to pass the cost along to the consumer. So China gets rich, India gets rich. Well, I shouldn't say India because they're struggling right now with crops, but let's just pretend they make, and they do, they have a lot of product that comes from their country. Let's just say that China and India, they put out the most CO2 in the world. And the world's like, you got to reduce your emissions. And China and India are like, well, here's some money. And then the IPCC is like, oh, that's okay, go ahead. That means that carbon is not killing the planet. If it was, they wouldn't allow it, period. And again, we have a video. It's called Why Donald Trump Did the Right Thing by Pulling Out of the Paris Climate Treaty. It's on our channel. I highly advise you guys watch it. This guy explains to us what the hell is actually going on at the IPCC with the carbon credit nonsense. Historic Midwest blizzard has farmers expecting massive crop losses as devastating as we've ever seen. I'm going to take some facts out of this because this guy here really kind of makes it very fiery. I know Matt can tell you that the wheat crop, the winter wheat, was harvested pretty good in parts of Nebraska. Last I spoke to him, they had 95% of their winter wheat, but that's not the case here in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, and other parts of the Midwest. Unprecedented October blizzard that just hit before harvest time has absolutely devastated farms all across the United States heartland. As you will see below, one state lawmaker in North Dakota is saying that crop losses will be as devastating as we've ever seen. This is the exact scenario that I have been worrying for months about and now has materialized. Due to endless rain and horrific flooding in the early year, many farmers in the middle of the country face very serious delays in getting their crops planted. So we really needed good weather at the end of the season so that crops could mature and be harvested in time. And unfortunately, that did not happen. Instead, the historic blizzard that we just witnessed dumped 2 feet of snow from Colorado to Minnesota. In fact, one city in North Dakota got 30 inches of snow. In the end, this is going to go down as one of the worst crop disasters that the Midwest has ever seen. And ultimately, this crisis is going to affect us all. Now, according to the USDA, only 15%, as of October 6th, that is, 15% of all U.S. corn and only 14% of all U.S. soybeans have been harvested. Now, I've got the latest crop report. We'll go over that here in just a minute. But this Michael Steiner guy here is really painting a bad picture here. And I kind of wanted to bring this up because, yeah, this is starting to add up a little bit. Not everywhere has lost their crops. Not everywhere is a total loss. But for some parts of North Dakota and South Dakota, I mean, the pictures that I just showed you guys of the wheat fields with 2 feet of snow in it. I mean, you know, if you're rich and have plenty of money, this isn't going to bother you. But if you're like us and everybody else around the country, this is going to hurt your budget. Prices are going to go up. And then here at the bottom, you know, Michael says, I prepared everyone to stock up and get prepared and facing major shift. He's right. He also wrote a book, Amazon.com. Good job, Mike. But the importance of me showing this before I showed the crop report is to give you the truth about what's really happening out there. Some of these crop reports are absolutely not in touch whatsoever. This map right here indicates our grow season has ended, obviously, in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, parts of Kansas. The dark green area is major corn. They've highlighted the temperatures here, the white ones, the freezing ones, to show you where exactly the grow season is over. And you'll notice that these areas are a majority of major corn areas. So that's frightening. Grow season's over, and our very own Matt from Nebraska has told us that there are some farms that are going to need the first week of November before they can get in and harvest. And here's why. Percent of corn dented, which is in the very early stages still, about mid-stage here, that's starting to go up all the way. Good news in that department. As of October 13th, most states have corn that is dented, but most states are not mature yet. All right, let's compare this list. Parts of Illinois, most of it, the grow season is over. 73% of the corn there is mature. This time last year, it's down 27%. Indiana, 72% mature, 99% this time last year, down 27% again. Iowa, also down 25% in mature corn. All right, so These areas I'm reading off, they're done. This is it. No more growing for the corn. The corn is done as of this moment, October 13th. Some of these farmers needed all the way until the first week of November to get mature crops pulled out of the ground. Michigan, just forget it. 44% of your crops of corn are mature. 44%. The 5-year average is 80. Last year we were 86%. Ohio, 57% of your corn is mature compared to 91% last year. 34% less than last year. Soybeans, holy hell, we'll get into that in a minute. Tennessee and Texas get the blue ribbon for the year. South Dakota, 53% mature, only 92% this time last year. So again, we're down significantly. 39% down in South Dakota. Wisconsin, 49% corn has been matured compared to 92% this time last year. Absolutely stunning. 43% down from last year. When you look at corn harvested, Iowa's only got 7%. They're done. No more maturity. 7% has been harvested. Now we're racing against old man weather to get this crop out of the ground. Illinois, 23% has been harvested out of the 73% that's matured. So that means 50% still left in the fields. Indiana, you have around 50% left in the field of mature corn. That's it. 50% left to harvest. And you've only harvested 24% of your corn. But right now, there's only 72% that's mature. Iowa, 7% of your crop. 7%. Michigan, 7%. Minnesota, 5%. The growth season's over there as well. 44% is mature. So you guys don't have that much crop left to pull out of the fields. North Dakota, 1% of your corn has been harvested. 11% this time last year. And again, these areas depended on warmer weather. The 5-year average, though, in North Dakota, believe it or not, is 12% harvested by this time. So let's not jump off the bridge here yet. It is pretty low. But Ohio, 16% of your corn has been harvested. 30% this time last year, and 27% is your 5-year average. So you're still down. South Dakota, same thing. 5% harvested. 19% is the 5-year average. Wisconsin, my goodness, 3% of your crops, corn crops, are harvested. 18% last year this time. So every area that we're covering right now is down at least 20% or more from last year. The soybean numbers, just as bad. Illinois, Indiana, low percentage harvested. Below the 5-year average in some areas. Some areas are doing well. Michigan, 18%. 5-year average is 36%. Minnesota, 19%. 38% last year, so down almost 20% there. Wisconsin, 15%. Not terrible. Last year was at 20%. Tennessee, believe it or not, down a little bit. Actually, I take that back. They're above. They're ahead. Tennessee and Texas did the best this year. Crops. Mari looked at a couple other numbers for me too, and it looks like peanuts and wheat did pretty good so far. Like I said, I know Matt in Nebraska was able to harvest 95% of his winter wheat, and so it's not a total loss everywhere, but this USDA report, in my opinion, is showing us that we're going to see areas up to 40 to 50% loss in crops this year, a lot lower than what we actually thought. January will have the final numbers. But it concerns me if we continue to see these long winters and these short grow seasons. And yeah, you can always switch to a shorter grow season crop type grain, but you're still getting less yields. So if we're going to take a hit this year, and China's had crop loss, and India's had tons of crop loss, and other countries around the world has had crop loss, and then next year, like this upcoming winter and spring, is worse, how many more years do you think we're going to be able to handle before food prices just become outrageous? I don't care what country you live in. Let's take a look here at the weather real quick. This one article, and then I'll show you guys the GFS. This coastal storm
we've got here on the boardwalk in Long Beach, New York. The
looks
wind
pretty nasty.
Gusting 30 to 35 miles an hour. Some very heavy rain now coming right at me, stinging.
I bet it does sting. I mean,
it'll be all right, folks. So, northeast coastal storm could unleash a combination of soaking rain, strong winds through Thursday from the mid-Atlantic states to New England. Right now, here in upstate New York, we are in the beginning stages of that storm. This second low could strengthen quickly enough to undergo a bombogenesis, a term some meteorologists use to clarify surface lows whose pressure drops by at least 24 millibars in 24 hours or less. So let's thank our weather gods that we're not cold enough for snow, because a bomb cyclone and with cold enough temperatures for snow, with this moisture that's falling, 2 to 3 inches of rain or more could mean several feet of snow if it was cold enough. What all this means is that the Northeast will see wet and windy conditions increasing through New England into Thursday. High wind warnings in effect through Thursday for coastal areas of Maine, New Hampshire, and eastern Massachusetts, excluding the Boston Harbor. Winds gusting as high as 60 miles per hour in these areas could bring down trees, limbs, and power lines in these areas, possibly knocking out power. Rain spreading on Wednesday evening from the eastern Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Appalachians into the mid-Atlantic states, Hudson Valley, and southern New England. Rain caused Game 4 of the Little League World Series to be postponed. I'm sorry, Game 4 of the American League. That's my little nudge at the Yankees. Sorry. Game 4 of baseball's American League Championship Series in the Bronx between the Astros and the Yankees will be postponed until Thursday. The game was originally scheduled for Wednesday evening. Game 5 also was pushed to Friday. Rain should eventually end in most areas from Boston south overnight, except some wraparound rain showers are expected in parts of the eastern Great Lakes to the mountains of West Virginia. As the end of the rain arrives, don't let your guard down. Winds will remain elevated on Thursday as well. So check out these temperatures on Thursday in the Northeast. Yes, indeed. Very raw, very March-like, end of March, almost April type temperatures. Upper 40s, rain and wind. Definitely don't want to go out of the house tomorrow if you live in New York, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine. Make sure you have a coat or umbrella. It is going to be nasty tomorrow. Again, the upper elevations will see a mixture of precip in the Adirondack Mountains as well. But for the most part, this is going to stay a all-rain event. Also, before we get into our weather event, I want to thank everyone who has participated so far in the fundraiser as far as the sales on t-shirts, 15% off at GSM Love. That's the promo code. And donations, we have now crept. The number was 300 when we started on Monday. It's now down to 180. So we look like we're pacing to hit that goal, folks. We're only 180 away, and we can stop this silly fundraiser and hopefully never ever have to do something like this again. But again, guys, if you want to make donations to us, make sure you do it on the PayPal account. YouTube takes about 40% of the donations anyway on the super chats. Usually that's okay with us, but at this point, the funds will be used to help save our property that Mari has had in her family for almost 30 years now. So again, we have products on Etsy, Teespring, beanies, you name it. Mari has been working her tail off on these designs on this new stuff here, and plus a couple of new design t-shirts and hoodies. I think these are sharp here. You can put any color with this logo. So again, guys, Soul Quest, thank you very much. I wanted to give a shout out to him as well. I know there were others. Maybe we'll do a show where we wrap up all the donors. But again, thank you very much, SoulQuest216. We love you, brother. And again, thank you all for the support that we continue to get here at the Grand Solar Minimum. All right, let's take a look at it says here our session has expired. So let's refresh it. Zoom out, take a look at the heaviest of the rain. Right now, the weather maker in the United States is here in the Northeast. Let's take a look at this radar in motion here. Check it out. So we are now being Philadelphia, Atlantic City. You guys have been under heavy rain for the past couple hours. As the sunlight goes down, you noticed how some of this energy from this storm has gone down as well. But some strange formations here, guys. Look at this radar and these heavy rain cells. Semicircles. Wow. Maybe I need to get a hold of Lee Wheelbarger and figure out what the heck that's all about, huh? Probably has something to do with the magnetic field. I'm sure of it. But very strange radar readings here from these rain showers. Guys, look at that. A couple of areas almost formed complete circles of heavy rain rotating around the mid part of New York. Albany, the capital region, Syracuse, Utica, definitely getting the heavier stuff. Near Vermont, also Burlington getting some heavy rain as well. So this storm by any means is not over. This is a look for tomorrow's conditions. Expecting more rain showers in the northeast, mixed precipitation all the way in the northwest through Colorado, and things starting to quiet down a little bit for the northeast by Friday. But Maine is going to see mixed precip, and then so we're going to have mixed precip in the northeast and the northwest, and then another round of showers and thunderstorms developing across the Midwest, as if we need any more moisture across that area. Here is a look at some of the warnings right now. We're looking at flood warnings and watches in upstate New York, New Hampshire, Connecticut. Also, we are looking at Vermont. I apologize, it's a Vermont, New Hampshire, not Connecticut. Looking at storm warnings for this potential nor'easter / bomb genesis if it does develop, which it looks favorable right now as we speak towards a cyclone at this time, because it's going to drop 24 millibars in 24 hours, not because of how much rain or anything like that. It's all about the pressure that what qualifies these bombogenesis. And looking at this radar here, this is important too, because I want to show you this system here in the Gulf has got a very low likelihood of turning into a hurricane. But as you see here on the GFS, we are going to be dealing with another situation like we are right now late next week. So here we are tonight. This system is going to move through Thursday, the heaviest of the rain tomorrow in upstate capital region, New York, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine. You guys will see a lot of rain as well as we go through Thursday. Towards the end of the day, some wraparound showers by Friday morning. This system is all but out of here. Now the Northwest will start to pick up on some rain and snow showers, and notice our system here in the Gulf. This is what I want you guys to pay attention. Follow this system right here. So we go through Friday into Saturday. Notice how this system is moving right along the East Coast according to the GFS. October 19th, same thing, snow showers and rain through Sunday, all the way the same areas in the Northwest. That system tries to get a little more organized and then kind of fades away as it gets towards the Northeast. Now, GFS has this thing weakening quite a bit by the time it gets to the Northeast on Tuesday, okay? But this is just the appetizer, as another low pressure system that is trekking through the Midwest into the Northeast will again inundate the region by Wednesday, midweek next week. Behind that will be some very cold air. In fact, we will start to see colder air in the Northeast, probably the coldest of the year, start to develop. Another low pressure system moving across the Midwest again. Heavy rain expected in the Tennessee, Mississippi Valley on Friday, October 25th. And that system will also bring more colder air, as some snow definitely in the forecast for some parts of the Northeast. And right now, the GFS is indicating only the upper elevations and maybe some rain and snow mixing in overnight. But Monday, October 28th, we see more snow. Yes, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia. You guys will see some snow showers. Actually, West Virginia, believe it or not, could see 3 to 5 inches on Tuesday, October 29th, according to this particular forecast. Now, this snow continues to just rotate around the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley into the Northeast, thanks to this high pressure system that's dipping all the way down into the deep south. Georgia, Alabama will also see some dropping temperatures. And the Northeast on Halloween, that's right, snow showers moving into the capital region of New York. And by the 1st of November, according to the GFS, we will get a break by November 1st. So from here for the rest of October, it's going to rain, 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 snow, 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 rain, 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 snow, snow, cold air, more cold air.
Nice weather report.
It's pretty much the wrap up on that. But no, we have a very wet pattern, very active pattern, and temperatures also beginning to show sign of old man winter is knocking on the door very early here. As we get, now the Weather Channel says we're going to get a heat wave in the south. Yeah, well, 60s and 70s, I don't really count as a heat wave, folks. Florida, you're in the 80s and 90s. That's Florida for you. Texas, by the 23rd, nobody will be in the highs in the 80s in Texas. Most people will be in the 50s and 40s in the north, northeast, and northwest. The Midwest, like Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, beautiful, comfortable late fall weather in the 70s. But look at all that blue spilling in from Canada starting on the 24th. Another dip in the jet stream. More cold air being forced down. Look at this. Goodness. So all the way down in Alabama, Mississippi, lows in the 40s for you guys. Almost freezing in some spots in the deep south by the 27th. Freezing temperatures across the Great Lakes, the New York area, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, the upper Appalachian Mountains as well. The Northwest, Montana. So again, a wet pattern, cold pattern, freezing temperatures, and believe it or not, man, when we get to this end of this, look at this at the top, folks. Look at that. That's winter-like Arctic air starting to surface up here at the end of October as we go into November. Highs in the 40s, by the way, by the end of the month for the most of the Midwest, Ohio, East Coast, Northeast. Fall is officially here. Look how far these freezing temperatures reach on November 1st. Parts of Alabama and Georgia, 28 degrees in the northern part of Georgia by November 1st. Mara, I'm going to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be near record low temperatures for this part of the country on November 1st. I'm going to have to look it up, but I can almost guess that's what we're looking at. All right, Mari, would you like to say hello to everybody in the chat tonight?
I'd like to say hello to everyone in the chat tonight.
Everybody?
Jake. Everybody.
All right.
Let's see. You know, definitely a big shout out to SoulQuest. I'm super humbled to see your PayPal donation, and he has been a supporter of our channel for a while now. I'm just humbled by the support. It's that Ohio Cleveland Browns love thing.
We feel it,
bond.
you know. We
it's
feel
like
it.
A bond.
It feels
it's like the brotherhood.
We feel the pain together, you know.
Feel the pain, and I was telling him I am contemplating a special T-shirt, Browns GSM / whatever.
Just for him.
A special one of a kind.
Browns GSM
one
shirt for him.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, not bad. I'll take one too.
No, none for you.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I'm a Browns fan too, so you know.
Well, maybe then you can.
And I like GSM a little bit as well.
Then you can wear them and have like matching days.
There we go. We can take pictures, SoulQuest. All right, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
God, this is getting out of control. I'd also like to thank the other people who donated on PayPal. Very humbled, Ronald and Katina as well. And I have a few other people that I have to get a list that did earlier in the month. I want to thank everyone. We got 12 new Patreons.
Oh, wow.
I'm not going to list them off.
We are growing, folks.
It's nice to see the Patreon platform grow, and it's only $1, so it's awesome.
We're not asking for much.
That helps us fund our website and our call-in shows,
future
and
projects.
The website isn't free, neither is the call-in show, so our Patreons make it happen, and I am so thankful for all of our supporters. Truly humbled. Matt Bros is in the chat. He said, let's see, 40% last week. It looked like it made it, but just needed 3 more days before the freeze.
Oh,
the kernels are all shriveled already. You know, we knew going into it with the spring that we had. We've discussed it all year long. This is what we feared with this harvest season. And we're seeing it now, and as we report it and emoting the way we're emoting, it's just sobering to be talking about it the whole year and see it unfold just the way we predicted it to happen. And this is only the beginning. How many years after years after years can we take of this? And there are some crops that are having some successes. I just read an article that the avocado that struggled last year is actually doing well this year in California. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom, but this is very startling seeing these numbers.
Yep.
You were going over the weather, and Jeff Border said, "Nothing to see here. The anomalies are just a pack of seagulls."
Yeah, that's it. Some mayflies. So,
SoulQuest also recommended a survival medicine book that you can download for free that has procedures for medicine and off-grid prepping. He said it's amazing and it's free. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hunt it down, and I'm going to make a resources section on the site, and I'll put books, like free books and articles like that, right on our website. Another person also said that their mom told her that apples in Kansas were $6 for 5 apples.
wow.
5 apples for $6.
Well, I mean, you've eaten apples all year long, and some of them are just downright gross.
Well, I'm very particular with apples. I'm fortunate to be in New York, and we have beautiful apple orchards here. And we are lucky that our apples actually, I think they did quite well this season. I'm not sure, how the apple orchards are in Kansas, but New York is sort of notorious for our apples. So I was telling people in the chat, I am making an apple pie. What did we pay for that half bushel? Was it like, it was about $20, I think. I'll have to look it up. I don't remember. But, let me see if there's anything else. The chat. I say hi to Cheryl, and Thor sent me some beautiful pictures. I cursed him out for that meme.
It's all right.
I didn't tell him that you cried, but
I didn't. 'Cause that's an old picture. So try to do something modern, Thor.
Thor sent me the most beautiful.
Sending me pictures from 1994.
He sent me the most, besides that meme, he sent me the most beautiful fall foliage, picturesque pictures. I'm going to put them on our website, our next show, because they're very stunning and gorgeous. We live in the Northeast, and the foliage here and the mountains and the scenery, it's beautiful here in the Northeast, isn't it, Jake? Mm-hmm. You love it. Anyway, that's all I got. I'll stop talking now.
You're fine, honey. Thank you again for all your help, again, with the website, with everything that we do on the YouTube channel. Again, Mari works her butt off behind the scenes, guys. So we really appreciate you guys interacting with us in the chat, you guys joining Patreon. We were selling shirts and beanies, and of course, the donations. We are very humbled at the support that we have received from you guys this month, and we're very, very close to hitting that goal. So once again, thank you very much. That's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning into the evening edition today of the Grand Solar Minimum channel. We'll be back tomorrow morning with a solar update and a quick weather update. But until then, guys, have a good evening, and we will talk soon.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.